Hey guys, on the way to ConExpo 2023. It's my buddy John. He works at the Ford Contracting in Edmonton. Well, I am back from ConExpo, so pretty much back to work now. So ConExpo was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people there, almost too many. Like the first day, we were there on the very first day, and then we were there so the first day and the second day. And the first day we found that you could stop and talk with people and get information at different booths and you know, whatever they were displaying there. But day two seemed like as soon as you stopped, like you were just getting pushed around and you were just in somebody's way. So that was not a big deal though. It was still cool to see everything. And so yeah, it was a lot of fun in that sense. Some things that I really liked was the John Deere engines. They had their engines dressed up real fancy. They had like chrome, all the bolts were chrome, the clamps, all the steel lines and tubes, everything was chrome. And they kind of had like a metallic paint on the engine, so that was kind of cool. Another thing that was neat was that they had like a machine shop or an engine parts supplier, so that was cool to see because they had a big crankshaft there before getting machined, so it was just a new cast crank. So that was neat to see kind of that before the machining process. And then all the service trucks, I mean, they had pretty well every make or big name of manufacturers for those trucks, and it created some service truck envy for sure, but very cool to see. There was lots of pretty nice spec trucks. It would be cool to have something like that one day, but it was definitely fun to look at, and it was nice to compare all the different manufacturers, like, because they're pretty well side by each, so you know, you could go and play around with the doors and the cabinets on one and the drawer packs, you know, and then compare it to a competitor right next to it. So that was pretty neat because, yeah, there were some pretty big quality differences, and not what I expected. So that was neat to see. And then there was that 1966 Peterbilt there. That was a very nice truck. Apparently it's a working truck. It looks just such a very beautiful show truck. I have a hard time imagining that it works, but props to that guy to be able to keep it clean and be making money with a truck like that. So that was really cool to see. And I wish I had the hood open because it has an X15 Cummins in it, which that's a pretty big motor or engine. I'd like to see the creativeness in cramming that big engine in there. So that I thought that was pretty neat to see. And then just all the different types of equipment. Like I work on a huge variety of stuff, and you know, I always think like I work on all sorts of things, but I don't even scratch the surface to what's actually out there. Like it's incredible, and I'll just insert some photos and stuff that I took while I'm talking here, but it's very neat to see. And then all the electric drive equipment, I mean, like it or not, or, you know, or have your opinion about it, I mean, it's coming, and it will be, you know, taken off more and more. Whatever your opinion is on that, you know, I don't think that they're the answer necessarily, but I do think that that's where we're headed, and it's clear to see when you go there, because every booth had you know, something electric for the most part. But it's cool to see anyway, and ask questions about and all that. So that was neat. And then I didn't really meet any mechanic YouTubers, but I did meet Isaac with IC Weld, and that was pretty cool. I watch a lot of his videos, and he's an incredible welder, just a real good tradesman in general. Very nice guy. We had a pretty nice conversation with him, and it was cool to interact, or I guess shake hands with someone that you've only ever seen online. So that I thought was pretty neat. And then the last thing we did was a Big Bud tractor, and that was really cool. That was about the only agriculture thing there, other than a couple of case quad tracks that I seen anyways. But the Big Bud tractor was very, very neat. So Big Bud's a company that built tractors way back in the day, probably the 80s, I would think. I might have to check that before I go spouting off here. But there was a few in my area where I'm at now, and there's only one left that I know of. And that guy is not farming anymore, but he's still got the tractor. But they're very, very cool, very big, high horsepower, heavy built. They're not built to really be a fancy piece of equipment like most tractors nowadays. They're very much purpose built and kind of a no frills unit, but they do perform well, and yeah, it's a pretty cool unit. A big 1.5 inch thick frame the whole way, not a box tube frame. Tons and tons of room under the cab for working on. So they're definitely got their purpose, and you know, if people recognize that, I think that they'll do pretty well. So anyway, this is Friday now, so I got in last night in Calgary at about 9:30, and I never really got on the highway till about 10. So it was about 3 a.m. when I got home, because I had to stop and have a little bit of a snooze along the way, because I was just getting to be too tired. But after that week in Vegas, I couldn't feature another hotel stay. That's expensive there. You don't get nothing cheap out in Vegas. You know, even though it's American currency, I think everything we paid for was double what it is in Canada even. So, but we didn't go there for a deal, so we just went there to see it, and we seen it, and that was cool. I'd maybe go again, but I'm not gonna be racing back to Vegas anytime soon, that's for sure. But it was cool. So anyway,